Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the Glorious Smite League. Today we have a semi-final matchup in the lower division. Top ranked King Kai's facing off against the 4th ranked Protectors of Yggdrasil. King Kai's yet to play in this tournament, Protectors of Yggdrasil winning their last match against the Wiener Brigade to get this matchup tonight. Protectors of Yggdrasil already having to do a bit of last minute changes here with Threadus dropping out and Ket Monster coming in his place. An interesting change already, which is going to push Protectors of Yggdrasil potentially a little bit out of sorts, not having the lineup they were expecting at very last minute, bringing someone else in. We wonder how much impact that might have on the game. I'm joined here tonight, myself, I'm Ginger Archer, and I have got Snakebite Sam as my co-caster to this evening.
Good evening, guys. How are we? As you say, a sub, maybe a little bit of a change, but we'll see how well they sort of play around it, and maybe a switch up on their end as well in terms of play styles, putting the sub in maybe a preferred role and having to swap ADC around.
Now, picks and bans, standard sorts of things coming out here. So Bakasura ban coming through, the Nemesis. We know Morton hates playing against the Nemesis. And Alyssa's plays a lot of Bastet. I'm wondering if that ban might be a target ban against her. The same as the Shiva, very respectful of Alfie's own here. He is a monster on that god. Causes so much disruption. So huge level of disruption there, and a very good target ban to bring out, as well as the Jingwei and the Mercury, two gods who are just very strong in the current meta.
100%, the Jingwei especially, although there has been the bonus patch recently, so it'll be interesting to see how much that actually has affected the games, their sort of strategies going forwards. But we are seeing a lot of jungle bans coming out, which trying to limit that sort of impact they can play in that sort of early, mid, and then later on stages as well. Just limiting how much they can get and try and steal away more farm to push their team ahead.
Yeah, and the Kepri pick here, very interesting that we see the Kali picked into it. I feel like that's almost a counter in of itself. If Kali finds her target, the Kepri ult comes out, and suddenly Kali might be finding herself a little bit out of position. I'm not sure if I like that one immediately. The Baba Yaga though, a very strong pick. That is a very highly scaling mage at the moment in a meta where games are going late. Her late game, she is going to be absolutely annihilating the other team. King Arthur coming out in response though. A very strong pick in solo at the moment with the changes to Gladiator Shield.
Like that Shield and Blackthorn both getting sort of decent sized buffs, making those sort of warriors come back a little bit more, straying away from the more interesting picks in the solo lane. I think the Kali will be interesting as it is a very sort of late game orientated god, and as you say, games are going later, so the Kali may be able to start using some of the more interesting items, try and get some crit online, maybe attack speed based, and just try and shred through some of these sort of tankier targets while also bursting the squishies.
Absolutely, and I think that late game is what we're seeing being played here from Protectors of Yggdrasil. You know, Baba Yaga, Kali, Geb, all very late game oriented gods, whereas on the other side here, we're seeing the King Arthur and Naja, gods that like to abuse their lanes. They want to push in, get that early pressure. I think they're almost trying to shut this down before it can even be a problem here. King Kaiser looking to potentially push this and sort of be at the Phoenix lines by maybe 20 minutes here. Morton's Naja very aggressive. I've seen it myself. He likes his fights on this god. So that mixed with the Kepri, they're going to be able to take the Kali or isolate a target. That's going to be a very strong pick here.
Alternatively, you've got the Geb as well on the other side, so they're trying to keep this sort of Kali and the Baba Yaga alive a little bit longer. Kali, as you say, almost picked into a counter matchup with the Kepri, unable to keep using the ultimate to keep her alive and try and get her target. If the target's got the same amount of cooldown with the revive from Kepri, the Geb maybe just trying to give a little bit more survivability to allow her to escape if she does get in too deep and starts getting focused out.
Yeah. Now, interestingly here, Baron Samedi made it all the way through to the second round of bans. That is a god who has been picked up a lot recently, whether it's in the support or the solo lane. A lot of poke, a lot of healing, and just generally being quite annoying. This god at the moment, his ability to pick off someone, force relics out of one, maybe even two gods of fight. In a composition like this, where you've got sort of the Kali and the Achilles, people who want to get on and assassinate people, I almost would have valued picking that here. I mean, if you pick it, you can go for the Achilles, but either way, it is something that you'd potentially want to see just to get those relics out, allow the Kali and the Geb to kind of do their thing, push in. Especially against, say, a Heimdall, who otherwise is just going to be really protected. Having no relics, he's a much more vulnerable god.
Exactly that. The only real escape is his reliant one, where he's got to stand in his crystal for a little while. So using that sort of Baron Sambiel to try and pull them out, and similarly going into the Artio as well. Sort of another god that they realise really sort of limit the movement of both King Arthur and the Heimdall, not really allowing them to move around as much as they would like and have that sort of escapability. Really just sort of a big disruption.
Yeah.
Don't want that against them.
It disrupts quite a lot more as well. I mean, the Neja Sash gets disrupted by it. That can really misposition the jungler there, as well as the Kepri pull. If he grabs someone either in lane or in late game team fights, you suddenly pop the cripple and he cannot be pulling them anymore. That just doesn't exist. It reduces the amount of CC on the side of King Kai's here quite drastically. Looking at the drafts overall, Protectors of Yggdrasil here, the Gibelunke coming in, they're most definitely looking for the late game with the Achilles here to sort of just push some relevance early game. Just on drafts alone, who do you think is going to take this one?
I think both sides have a solid sort of draft. You're looking more, as you say, late game, the side of Protectors of Yggdrasil. They've got the Kali, the Shibbolunke, the Baba Yaga, and the Achilles, all sort of doing very well in that late game. Achilles with this sort of percentage execute and the changes to Glad Shield as well, helping out. The Geb is just sort of there to help them and also limit that sort of crit damage coming through. So that's a very solid late game draft. Whereas on the other side, you've got a bit of a mix, sort of more sort of some early, some mid, and then some survivability from the Kepri as well, which is always going to do well throughout the laning phase towards the late game team fights as well, just being able to keep people alive. I like what Quinn Size have done in sort of trying to be able to control that game early and just sort of snowball it, but at the same time, if Protectors of Yggdrasil can sort of hang on and keep it going, I can see them trying to push it late and then use their sort of bonuses to their team as they can. But it's going to be down to how well this Kali goes into this sort of roster, as it is going to be very interesting and probably difficult as well.
Yeah, I think the key for King Kai's winning if this does go to late game is the Neja being able to isolate someone, whether that is the Geb themselves, whether that's the Kali in the ult. We're just sorting to isolate these key targets. If the Geb goes in the air, there's no real protection from a King Arthur just running in with everyone else at his back and a Poseidon ult. Meanwhile, the Kepri is going to be there to keep people alive. I'd almost be looking at the Geb as the target here just to take away that peel. On the other side though, the Kali, I mean, if she's able to stay in the back line almost and actually help keep the Gibelunke and the Baba Yaga alive, just kill the King Arthur. If she goes that shredding build, that King Arthur is not going to be able to last long against 3 characters. That's going to force out Kepriel, that's going to keep the backline alive and relevant, so it's really, I think this game is very much going to come down to how the 2 junglers play, and I know they're both on some real favourite gods here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the long run. Just looking at the rosters, I do feel like King Kai's have the ability to end this in about 20-25 minutes. If they don't, I reckon this could indeed go to Protectors of Yggdrasil. And actually King Kai's have a little bit of renown for starting sets slowly, so just off of that, I am going to give this to Protectors of Yggdrasil, game 1. But we shall see how it goes. I'm excited for this set.
100%, me too. I mean, if it goes late, they will have that advantage, so it'll be interesting to see how well King Kai's can sort of try and control this early to mid game, trying to just sort of push their lead as much as they can.
Yeah, and the pressure is on them. 100%. I mean, King Kai's, they're the top rated seed in this tournament. They are the team that needs to be taking this to others. They are the team that needs to be, pushing the lead, asserting their dominance, showing what they can do. They do have what looks to be another player actually compared to normal in mid lane. Plush Rush coming in, and they don't have the regular Luxior Gaming in mid either. They've now got Rush Saru. So a little bit of a mix around in the rosters there as well. I've not seen them play together. That doesn't mean they haven't. They've probably been scrimming. However, I still think just the ability on those 3 key players they've got otherwise is going to be very, very important. As I say, Alfie Morton and Red Purple Blue. In fact, I've seen Red Purple Blue carry games solo from support in this league. The guy is insane.
Exactly that. Just having their 3 sort of core members come in to try and sort of hold down the fort, and as long as they've got them, they've still got their sub from in the mid lane, trying to sort of lend a hand. But if you sort of keep that Kepri alive, keep the solo going, just being able to try and run through the team, you should be able to do a decent amount of work.
Indeed, and Kepri, I think, is one of the top, if not the top supports right now. That extra survivability he can give to someone late game. If you've got, say, a hyper carry, or I mean, close enough to this in this game is going to be the high Mother Nasia, just bursting out crits. Now, if anyone on Protectors of Yggdrasil has seen Morton play, which I know some of them have, they should be aware that he likes to go the crit on the Nasia here. Now, assuming the Heimdallr is going to be getting the same thing, I would like to see a couple of Spectral Armors come out on the side of Protectors of Yggdrasil, namely the Solo and support. I don't think anyone else really can afford to put it in the build, but I think that's really going to counter what we can see from the King Kai's late game crit carries this game.
Exactly that, and it will be interesting because Spectral Armor has received that sort of little bit of a buff with the bonus update, sort of trying to reduce the crit even more so. So having that to just try and limit this sort of very heavy crit build come out will be interesting to see.
On the other side, I wouldn't mind seeing potentially a Midgardian male coming out just to deal with that Kali and the Xbalanque a little bit here. Now, looking at early builds, I'm looking at I don't like either of the Hunter builds here. Both of them really sort of foregoing any large amounts of MP5. Especially on the side of the Xbalanque, not having Gilded or Death's Toll for mana regen, really going to hurt the clear if that one is active. I mean, she's going to be out of mana very early here, Alyssa. Might be struggling to stay in lane a little bit.
I think the interesting thing with the Xbalanque build is they're opting towards what I assume is going to be that spiked gauntlet into Devos, going for the Devos over the Transcendent. So not having that sort of heavy mana pool for the one, just being able to fling out those autos very sort of later on in the game, even early game as well. Just having that extra mana to try and do a lot of damage will be interesting. But the Heim obviously opting for more ability damage with his sword in the sky.
I mean, he's going to be looking here to just abuse the lane here, get the poke off, get the damage. With the Xbalanque, I understand going into the Devos here, you've got a King Arthur who's going to be running at you in the backline. You see some aggression coming out here. Ket Monster being pushed to below half health in the mid lane already, having to use one of his health potions.
Using the sash into the whirlpool, just guaranteeing a lot of damage there, bringing them down the path.
Yeah, nice little combo, and actually Morton going aggressive again. And Ket Monster opting not to have his dash yet, instead placing into the stun, so not overly safe, and he's going to have to back here already, very, very early on that. Usage of the potions is down, and that confirms 3 oracles for King Kai's. We can see already that aggression coming out from the jungler. Now Red Purple Blue here, is he potentially baiting a fight? We can see the Nasia looking to rotate over. Is anything going to come of this? Protectors of Yggdrasil sat somewhat far back here, but we can maybe see a relic burn in. Good horrific emblem coming out, that's the Xbalanque dash. No beads coming out though. Grab onto the Geb. Geb in the awkward position here. Don's gaming, shields himself. Nothing more coming of it.
Good use of the shield there, just using that as the CC cleanse and sort of just being able to walk away. An interesting path rotation there. We're obviously trying to get a bit aggressive on that Harper camp on the left and trying to bait them into a bad fight with that Najar coming over and pressure brought from that mid lane.
I just think they're very smart by Protectors of Yggdrasil not to use any relics there. I think even now, all Alyssa has to do, block the basic attacks, and no relics again need to come out from Don's gaming. He's getting a little bit low, but he's still got 2 potions left, and he's still got a Hand of the Gods left. Maybe forgetting to use that on the camp early, maybe thinking of using that to confirm second camps on rotation here.
Exactly that. Maybe thinking he's going to get ganked quite a bit in this lane, as you've already seen, and just wants that to help try and secure that purple later on. As we do see Kepri and the Heimdall going for that left alpha half camp, just sort of trying to extend their lead across the board and just trying to push this sort of early game they have.
Yeah, I'm disappointed actually that they didn't prioritize this over getting the small harpy. It's worth so much more experience. And smart play here from Protectors of Yggdrasil just to confirm that purple buff. Gibelante pathing forward, not necessarily the safest, but I suppose when you can see that duo lane on the other side, there's not a huge amount of risk.
That we're already seeing a little bit of a lead, just a slight one, probably about half a level in that sort of left-hand side in that ADC support, just pushing what they can, just trying to really force them under tower to try and maximize their farm and just make sure they have a solid laning phase towards that sort of mid game when we start looking towards gold series later on.
I think mid game as well, Gibelante with a couple of items when he's going to start coming along online, but same with the Heimdall really. That should be quite an even match if those two tend to take the 1v1. Now, impressive here on the solo side actually. The Hunter, the 1-2 Hunter actually being able to out-pressure Alfie's own here in the solo lane. He still has a potion left as well. Now, Alfie is a very, very good solo laner, so props to the Hunter here, doing some really, really good pressure. Getting him ticking down almost near that execute zone. Arthur hard to lock down due to his movement, but he's getting ballsy, and actually Hunter's going for it, misses the ult, but gets the stun onto Alfie. Progressing in here, good amounts of damage, but misses the 3, and kill potential is dropped with that.
He's just having that built-in sort of healing with this too, just really maximizing that to try and pressure out the Arthur, which doesn't really have that much healing, but he has now backed and got that sovereignty, so the passive healing will help out with the lane.
Yeah, as well as the chalices coming in on the health, so that's going to be constant sustain every single time the King Arthur backs here. He has opted into the blink as well, so potentially looking to start going aggressive here. Well, now he's got that sovereignty online. Well, the same from Achilles, so this lane probably stalls out a bit now. Both of them with a lot of sustain, a lot of defense. Not likely to see too much more.
So there is an interesting build coming out for this Poseidon, obviously realizing that he doesn't really have a main escape, so opting towards the first option, opting to do more, trying to get that little extra movement speed, as well as the Eye of the Jungle, trying to opt for more basic attacks and doing a little bit more sort of damage to maybe jungle camps, but probably mainly for the sort of Seer of the Jungle or the starter upgrades to just try and help him do a little bit more damage with his basic attacks over perhaps abilities.
Yeah, and I think early game is really good for the Poseidon to have that clear. It allows him to solo clear the red buff after the first spawn, which mid laners, even after the bonus patch, still suffering from with the damage that the buffs are coming out with, taking often a third to half their health when clearing. Having that Eye of the Jungle is going to nullify that, negate it down to about 10% with the extra clear. It does mean he's not going to have as much mana sustain in the lane, but I'm a fan of the Eye of the Jungle. Yeah, I think on the Poseidon, where he benefits from the attack speed as well, it's not a bad pickup.
Exactly that, being able to use that passive piece on him as well, just to sort of help him out. Dude, for a gank.
Yeah, this is exactly what I meant about the Gibelante lacking mana. The Prince comes out red, purple, blue, holding the dash, gets the root off, opting not to dash in after. Probably saw the Geb around the corner of some form of vision, but I think that's a thrown first blood. Gibelante, no beads, no dash. I think you grab there, the Heim just kills with basics.
I did like the Kepri holding the grab there, waiting for that beads that he sensed was going to come out with the Heim ult, just trying to force the relic before he got the pull to try and guarantee it, but Gibelante just being able to dash away just before, giving him a little bit more chance to try and survive a bit.
Yeah. You see both hunters now with their stacking items online, meaning that the Heimdall probably has a 200 to 300 gold lead here in terms of the cost of the items. That's a minimum. This stage in the game, we're 7 minutes in, with no kills going down. That's quite a lot of gold that's been lost on the side of Gibelante and of Protectors of Yggdrasil here. And that's where most of it is, because the gold otherwise is pretty much identical.
As you say, gold's identical. You've got this sort of draft built in for early to mid-game pressure, and although they've been doing a fair amount of that, no kills really across the board, and your only real level difference, which is sort of just ticked over, was the Geb that was one level behind, but Heimdall's a little bit ahead in XP, maybe just pressuring out the Shivalanke from a little bit of the XP and getting all the neutral farm as well. We might start seeing a big lead appear in that ADC.
Indeed, good shell coming out there from the Gavin. Good use of the beads and ultimate from Blank Tsukiyomi. Neja here with no ability to reposition themselves. Good use of the one to recall, get the extra speed to be able to run away. Shibalanke here, this is rotated, but red, purple, blue doing a good job of zoning and stopping any further engage. Monster looking to go in here, but he's on his own, he needs to leave. And Relic's forced on the sides of Protectors of Yggdrasil, no beads left on Blank Tsukiyomi in the mid on the Baba Yaga, but yeah, nothing really coming of this.
I think it was good there for the Poseidon to come around and sort of supply a little bit of peel as they can with that cripple field, just sort of limiting the chase potential, and then very quickly noticing the Kali's going on him. Do you see a red buff steal?
And red, purple, blue, that is disgusting. And also emphasizing the fact of why you should always hold a little bit of secure for those camps, because you never know who's around the corner.
Exactly that, but as I was saying, with the Kali there, recognising Kali's died, they instantly turned their focus onto that sort of peel. Just sort of stay, trying to get relics out, trying to get kill potential, but ultimately nothing really came of it, no matter how aggressive they were in their jungle.
Yeah, and this whole game is sort of just stalling to a bit of a lull here. We're seeing the odds get the items online. There's a minor XP and gold difference in favour of King Kai's here. But again, not hugely noticeable, maybe half a level on the jungler and support, an ADC, so starting to build up a little bit. But, I mean, half a level now, as long as it doesn't translate to more later on, Protectors of Yggdrasil don't mind that. They're playing for late game anyway, they don't mind being a touch behind now, it's not going to impact them hugely.
That's the important thing here, is they built this sort of late game draft, so the longer this goes, the happier they are in it. The King side have done a bit of a mix. It does work a little bit in late game, but they don't have as many late game powerhouses as they would on the side of Protector of Yggdrasil.
And now look at the engagement here. The Scorpion Morton missing the ult with the Neja. Red, purple, blue getting the grab off, but good cleanse by the Geb. Monster turning this around, going in offside, forcing out the ult. Abiyaga ult coming through as well. Red, purple, blue gets the ult off on them, but now we see Alfie's own out of position on his own here. The Hunter rotating on. Red, purple, blue sticks around to try and peel, using the Khepri 2 for the protections. And again, we see another fight. Still no first blood, and we are almost 11 minutes into this game now.
Back to that, I like the use of Capriel there, just using that for the little bit of movement speed to escape those Baba Yaga pools. You had, the King Arthur coming in, just a bit of disruption, a bit of a dissuasion, but I can't help but feeling that Kali was a little bit preemptive with that ultimate, trying to sort of make something happen without really holding it for perhaps when they were a bit further into the fight or when they perhaps needed it.
It seemed like it was being used for damage, which, I mean, is not the play. I would like to point out here on the ADC side, Gibelonke only just catching up to being one level down on the Heimdall here. That leather cow has really been hindering the ability to farm. Alyssa is just almost constantly out of mana. She's only just returned to lane. She's already used 15% of her entire mana pool. That is just constantly dropping. The leather cow I get, the late game, the hunter's cow is going to be nice for the aura, but I think at the moment it's just putting her quite far behind on the ability to farm. Still not fully stacked the Delu's gauntlets yet, and a bit of almost a full item down as well. I don't think this was the play. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but I like the idea of it, but I don't think it's smart for the farming. I think the death toll is just more efficient for Gibelonke at this moment.
Exactly, and I was also going to say, like, having that Devo not stacked there makes you wonder how much pressure they're actually putting in that ADC lane, forcing Alicia back on this Gibelonke, meaning she can't really get the stacks that they need. Going into the king side straight away as well, got the lifesteal, the Devo's just ticked over fully stacked. Tank shred and perhaps more tanky target.
Yeah, actually, I think the kin size here is a good choice. The Capri's already got double physical protections, and is making themselves quite a nuisance this game. Although 4 auto attacks there doing barely a scratch to the Capri. The sustain that he's got coming in here as well is going to be big. And actually, I think we're potentially looking for a camp invade here, or looking for a pick off onto Kali. See the map being pinged, but nothing coming of it. And Morten just rotating to the duo side here. I would have liked him to have seen this more from him. This is a Jiblanque that's had no mana all game. It was on the solo side, the Hunter picking up the first blood of the match. Solo kill now, he's around. Side taking up the Cat Monster, and actually Morten getting the Kali into the air. That ult is going to run out. That's a return kill onto Kali. Alyssa picks up Poseidon on the side. Has no mana, and if you're protected of Yggdrasil, you need to disengage. Shell comes out from the Geb. 2 for 1 in favour of Protectors of Yggdrasil. The 1-2 Hunter getting up a big first blood over on the solo side, stopping it from going to King Kai. And I think that's almost part of the difference in the builds here. I mean, if we look, the Achilles here has the Glad Shield done, whereas the King Arthur's gone for the Brawler's Beat Stick. Now, I can understand reducing the healing, but I think the damage that Gladiator Shield gets you right now is just too impactful.
I think the other thing is he's gone into this sort of damaging item. He lacks a bit of survivability, although he doesn't try and keep it going. But honestly, the Achilles there's got the execute, and it's just going to try and whittle you down a little bit more. I did like the jungler from Kinsize there, just using that ultimate when as soon as they saw the Kali ult, recognizing they could take him to the skies and drag it out, make sure they can try and get the kill, just as that runs out, and then take them back down into the fight.
I think that doesn't happen as well if the Kali goes the beads, and I don't understand going the blink first on Kali into this composition. Your team does not have early pressure outside of solo, but Ket Monster hasn't rotated to solo once, so he would have been better off this game, just getting beads, playing safe and farming up. Right now he's let himself die, and he's at a 2-level deficit now. That's quite impactful for a Kali who can get pressured out by an Asia. And King Kai's here using that pressure to take a look at the Pyromancer. Damage coming out over the wall, and actually they're dropping this just from the appearance of Baba Yaga getting poke onto the Kepri. Morten is looking at Baba Yaga, who's a little bit out of position, misses the sash as well. Good dash from Baba Yaga. Engagement here. Kepri goes down, good execute from the 1-2 Hunter. Morten taking up someone into the air, taking up Ket Monster again. Ket Monster goes down. Good ult from Dons on the way down to stun Poseidon as well. And both teams quite low here. King Arthur taking up the 1-2 Hunter. Not quite picking up the kill. Is he going to be able to chase through? No, he's not. And Blank Tsukiyomi is running right here in the background with the Baba Yaga ult. Alfie Zerone going a little bit too hard here, being poked out on the King Arthur, and nobody else falling from King Kai's. Except for Alfie Zerone, and that is a huge fight in favour of Protectors of Yggdrasil, who now should be looking at the Pyromancer themselves.
Exactly that, huge swing there. Just had getting all very low, and the King Arthur going a little bit deep. I think was there, so they managed to take out that Kepri very quickly. That guaranteed that revive couldn't go off even if you put it on himself.
It just wasn't even used in the fight.
I think the Kepri realised that he was dead to the execute no matter what happens. Decided to save it potentially for the next one.
Potentially, but maybe even had the chance to just drop it on someone else, which just gives that extra little bit of power and movement speed, maybe to swing a fight. Maybe not even having the chance to react. I mean, when that Achilles ultimate came out, he was not actually in the threshold, he just got burned after. Really good preemptive use there, and the 1-2 Hunter is having a cracking game here in the solo lane. 3-0. 3-level lead too. That's massive.
Using that new Glad Shield and sort of pushing the pressure from that healing in the early game to try and give himself a little bit of a lead, and he's now 3 levels up, and he's using that to his advantage, trying to swing these fights as much as possible.
I think Protectors of Yggdrasil are playing these fights well. I actually think it's almost a good thing that the Kali is acting as bait. There were 2 cooldowns, 2 big ultimates there, Poseidon and Neja used just to take out the Kali. And credit to the Geb as well. Don's Gaming, his ult on the landing to stun both the Neja and the Poseidon was really, really big just to slow down that follow-up. But they're targeting too much onto the Kali when right now the Kali isn't the problem. Baba Yaga and Achilles are doing huge amounts of damage, and I'd almost want to be focusing one of those 2 down just to force them out of this fight.
That's big. Getting picked up now.
Yeah, Blank CQME gonna go down. Good use of the ult by Morton, and Rush Dari picking up the kill on the Poseidon. And that's gonna force Gold Fury guys here. Yeah, Don's Gaming going in. Is he gonna be able to get the knock-up? No, good grab from the Kepri, and actually Don's Gaming going to go down. That's a big return swing now in favor of the Inkais, and what it amounts to in total is a 500 gold difference.
Exactly that.
This game is gonna go to late.
Exactly that. I mean, you saw King Kai's look maybe a little bit too preemptive around these. They're looking to Ket Monster again. A little bit too preemptive around that sort of Pyromancer. Took a fight that they probably didn't want to take. Recognised their mistakes. Sort of pushed into the mid, as you said, recognising that the mid is very dangerous at the moment. Double stacks complete, Divine Ruin complete, trying to limit some of the healing. And just sort of shutting them down straight to Gold Fury, get the swing back in our favour, and push it from there.
Interesting here, both hunters opting to forego crit for the first 3 items. Now, Heimdall, fair enough, that's smart when your Neja's got the Deathbringer done, and having the percentage pen is not bad by any means, but on the side of Protectors of Yggdrasil, I see no reason for the Gibelonke not to be pathing for a Wind Demon here.
Exactly, that Wind Demon into Deathbringer, just sort of giving that quite heavy 1-2 punch, being able to deal out a lot of damage. Obviously going towards the more auto-attack, sort of consistent damage, and tank shreds. Tank can be a little bit more dangerous in this fight going forwards.
Sure, but I mean the percentage pen, you get 20% with the Atalantas, that's already there. The kin size is going to shred through the protections, that's already there. On top of that, if you're then critting, Wind Demon giving you extra pen when you crit, there's nothing wrong with that. As we look for the engage here on the duo side onto Rush. Don's Gaming rotating in, and the ult being used by the Heimdaller just to get himself to safety. Alyssa here pretty low on mana. Gonna sustain some health from the wave, but Red Purple Blue making the rotation. Is he putting himself in danger here? I mean, if I'm Don's Gaming, I'm always looking for a knock-up. I'm thinking we can re-engage, and that's exactly what happens. Good poke onto Red Purple Blue, and that should be a disengage unless Alyssa takes too much damage for no reason. Forcing yourself low here, the Gibelonke ult coming out, good ult from the Geb. But Alyssa not picking up Rush in time, and actually forcing the Kepri ult. The Kepri ult comes through, meanwhile on the other side, Alyssa does get the kill, but the 1-2 Hunter picking up the kill onto Morton in return for Ket Monster. A big fight going on around solo as well as the duo lane here, so some 2 rather large engagements coming out on both sides.
Both supports just playing that absolutely perfectly there, using that shield and the ults effectively, just trying to keep their carries alive, but also trying to get the kill, and ultimately Red Purple Blue just took off a little bit too much damage there, obviously thinking that double fizz protection was going to do him alright, brought him down right low, and there he is in the grain scale.
Respecting how much damage the Gibelonke is going to deal at this stage. I did think Alyssa was throwing it, letting herself eat too many basic attacks from the Heimdaller, but managing to just about turn it around to sustain off of the Kepri to stay alive. Now the big lead here is the jungle. We're seeing a 3-level gap between Morton and Ket Monster. The Neja getting ahead, and with that build is going to be almost as much of a single target hyper carry as Akali is going to be. Going into the double crit here, has 10% pen online, probably going into actually a Shadow Steel I'd like to see here for the anti-heal on the side of Morton. I think that would be useful against the Achilles, Kali healing, Gibelonke healing.
I think both are good.
Yeah, and as the engagement comes out here onto the side, and Ket Monster picking up the kill, Red Purple Blue falling low as well. Morton goes in but misses the ult, falls short, and Blank Tsukiyomi with the Baba Yaga ult is enough to force the Kepri out of Red Purple Blue. I didn't even see that on him.
You're waiting there till the last second to put it on, keep yourself alive, and you will do a soft defense, but ultimately you retreat there.
1-2 Hunter at level 20 here with the Spectral Armor online. Neja's irrelevant, and Alyssa picking up the kill onto Rush. Ket Monster making the rotation and really letting himself be known now. He's called that level leader, and he's a late game Kali. I said this game, if it went late, could swing towards Protectors of Yggdrasil, and that's exactly what we're seeing happen here. They're looking at the Pyromancer. Morton is around on the Neja, but he's alone. His ult is available, but beads are not. He can't defend this. On the other side, I'd like to see Alyssa wants to push in this tier 2 and take it, which I think they are going to do. Really solid play out here from Protectors of Yggdrasil.
waiting for that Fury to come as well, get this power back off, get the Fury, just try and swing it further in their favour. And I think, as you say, Kinsai's just sort of drafted into this sort of early mid-game pressure and just haven't really executed it. And I can't help but feel that's probably down to protecting the Yggdrasil as well, just playing very passively, being able to recognise when they can and can't take fights, and backing off, even if it involves losing a red buff, just being able to recognise that aggression coming through and being able to say, all right guys, we've got the late game, we just need to hold on, keep doing what we're doing, and the rest will fall into place.
Yeah, part of that as well. Like, we saw Moran playing a lot around sort of the mid lane here, trying to. I almost keep siding even, but hasn't really been doing much aggressive work. And I think he should have been looking at the Xbalanque this entire time. Plush Rush has been able to force a lead for most of the game up until now. Alyssa with that build did not have mana sustain. Honestly, still doesn't have mana sustain. There's no reason for him not to just be going over to the duo lane. I mean, Plush Rush still has the highest damage, even with all the fighting that's been going on. He's been able to push the numbers. And I just think that lack of duo lane focus has almost been the downfall of King Kai's here. I think if they've been able to push that, they're looking at towers, gold furies, Heimdallr ahead can then start to rotate and they can push pyros, mantas, fire giants. They've not done that, and that I think is why this game has also been as long as it has, other than the safe play of protectors of Yggdrasil, which you mentioned.
Exactly that, and I mean, Protective Yggdrasil had a lot of pressure in that duo lane, but just sort of stuck near their tower, did what they can. They are going for a Primal Fury here, just a little bit more gold into their favour. As you can see, as we do see, Kinsai's trying to do a Fire Giant push. They know it's happening, and just trying to take maybe a risky play to get themselves in the lead. I'm not sure if Yggdrasil recognises this happening.
I think even if they do recognise, they're too slow to get over here. I mean, with the ADC there as well now, this Fire Giant is getting absolutely burned. Yep, this is a Fire Giant towards King, guys, completely for free. You're taking that over a Primal Fury every day of the week. And Alyssa here, stepping up alone, this is brave. Even using the Xbalanque ult, she's looking to go in, but that's not smart. That's a wasted ult and some poor positioning there. The team wasn't there to follow her up.
Obviously looking for something, maybe trying to stop the backs and try and get at least something for that, but ultimately, it's a massive win there with that play as well, recognising that they are going to go for this, Primal Fury, they are going to try and push that lead. Why don't we do this? Why don't we try and level the playing field? We're 5k down, so what, 1,000 each, maybe a tier 1 of an item, a tier 2. We can try and get this and get the power play, and then try and push into these team fights and use that to swing it.
And they have done now, and I mean, XP is even. The only difference is supports. Don's gaming with a 3 level lead on red, purple, blue, but I mean, he's got items which are making him tanky enough anyway. He's, like, what's he getting? He's getting a slightly longer route or a longer grab. The ult cooldown doesn't change on Khepri. I'm also looking to go in here, but good poke from Plush Rush, forcing him out. That was a single auto, and the Heimdallr one doing some huge damage, boosted obviously by Fire Giant, but
We're just trying to make something happen there, trying to look for some picks, see what they can do. Didn't really have the team around him, but they turned up when he needed it, as they're going to try and touch Alicia here. And he's decided to try and get the side farm.
she's alone versus 5. She's taking things off the match. I think she knows she's dead here. She doesn't get out. If she uses relics, which she does, I think that's a poor choice. She dies anyway here. The Neja following the Xbalanque through Niflheim. Alyssa does fall though to the Heimdallr ult. Now the 1-2 Hunter is going to get picked off as well. Teleporting in alone, having to use that ult. Good shield from Geb, but Alyssa there really could not afford to get picked off. If they stay as 5, they can defend tier 2 towers right now. Not so much. And they might even have to concede this Phoenix here.
Just not pushing them out, making sure they only have one option to go in, just left hand side.
Yeah, Alfie's around forcing out the Baba Yaga because he's going to come in and do some big teamfight damage. Chemonster picking up red, purple, blue again before he can use the ultimate, but Phoenix does go down. And I still think that is a win for King Kai's. They've nullified the gold lead to 2,000 now.
They've just pushed the go button now, got that Fire Giant and using it to their advantage. As you say, Alicia just sort of not really recognising the danger they could be on your own in that left jungle. No wards really predicting what's happening. Gets caught out, does use the relics as you say, and that just
Yeah.
ultimately snowballs. You had the Kali on the right, split pushing, and you had the Baba Yaga in mid, right by those tier 2s as well. So King Kai's just recognizing their map play here and recognizing the power they have. They can just shove down these Phoenixes very quickly as they have a 5-man group.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing. They've got this late game composition protectors of Yggdrasil, but that's going to mean nothing if they're not as 5. And the other thing right now, the 1-2 Hunter, he had his lead. He built into quite an early Spectral Armor, which at the start of the game I was all for and I was fine with, but neither Hunter has opted to go into crit in this game. Neither of them. So the only person that's doing anything to is Neja. Is that worth it for one god? Is that one Neja going to do enough to you on an Achilles? For Warren Spectral? I'm not sure if it is. It's a good Geb Shield coming out here onto Alyssa, but Alyssa with no beads getting picked up by Morton. Going to see the side knob. Don's Gaming using the early Geb ult to avoid the damage, but going down to red, purple, blue. That's a 2-kill swing towards the favour of King Kai's. The 1-2 Hunter having to use the ult to get out, but King Arthur following up with a good ult. Red, purple, blues there, tanking the tower, letting his team get in there. Blank Tsukiyomi firing the ult in return. Getting some good damage out. Beads come out of water, but Peppery still has ult, and they can afford to dive. Blank Tsukiyomi now out of position. Is he going to get picked up? The Neja Sash coming up shortly. They're diving the Phoenix, very, very low. Red, purple, blue goes in, but misses the dash with the Kepri. 2 blinks coming in, one from the side of King Arthur. Ult coming out onto Morton to keep him alive. They get a 3rd kill here, King Kai's. Kev also comes back and jumps in, uses the ult, picks up Plush Rush, gets the kill. Not Plush Rush, but beside, he goes on to Plush Rush after. Does pick up Red, purple, blue with the help of Blank Tsukiyomi, but Kev Monster goes down again, and that's technically a 3-kill swing over, net 3-kill swing in favour of King Kai's. And the Trebuchet not going to be able to push down this tower. Protectors of Yggdrasil just failing to teamfight effectively now.
Exactly that. King Kai's just having that sort of advantage there. And although it was a very messy fight, they got what they wanted. They got most of the towers off the map there, making that mid, and they were able to push it. Rush, just making sure that Trebuchet ain't going to push any further, not going to lose any more gold that they don't want to, any more pressure, and that Phoenix level threat.
And now they're going to be looking towards Fire Giant. With that left Phoenix down, Fire Minions starting to push in. King Kai's have a real advantage on the pressure here. And the waves are quite highly pushed up as well. Someone's going to need to go to those, and there is no global presence here. Unless the 1-2 Hunter goes and teleports. Does have it available.
I was going to say, you want your solo laner probably to go there. I get you want him on the front line, just trying to supply the vision and the threat, but with those going in, we are going to see the Kali go there instead, opting to quickly tear that out, but King Kai's all here, they might try and push the go button.
Morton picking up Blank Tsukiyomi into the L on the Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga falls down, uses the ult, opting to save the beads, getting the ult off some return damage onto actually Neja and the Heimdall. Side now coming through here onto Fox Gaming. The support falling low is eventually going to fall to Alfie's own, but big ultimate use just for the support there. Achilles ult coming through, gets blocked by Red, purple, blue on the Kepri. Morton re-engages with the Sash, uses the 2 to heal. Red, purple, blue falling once again. Alyssa dashing forward, Heimdall ult coming defensively. Alyssa doesn't quite have the mana to follow here. Gets some damage out, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And honestly, they could turn on her. She has no mana. Alfred looking to do so. Getting picked up by Blank Tsukiyomi. If they're going to turn, they needed to do so quicker. And now it just swings back in favour of Protectors of Yggdrasil and what was a 4v5.
It was a 4v5, but Kensai's just focused too heavily on the tanks there, leaving those most squishies just basically free cast. And you really get this Fire Giant, moving those backdoor protections as well. To try and burst it before this Poseidon gets there. Doesn't have grapple, sorry, so he's not going to throw that down and come back in time. This is getting low.
Her position here, she could be prone to falling. It does go down, and on the other side, actually, Monster just picks up the double kill, gets Morton as well. Goes and gets the triple kill onto Plush Rush, and Monster with the huge plays on Kali here.
As you say, you may get down 0-3 in the early game, but at the end of the day, you get to this stage, you still got a late game Kali, and they will just rip through anything that comes in their way, just absolutely tearing through the team there.
Oh, look at the inventory as well. That's a 3,000 gold elixir of power coming out for the Kali. I don't even think that's necessary. I would have preferred to see the defensive potion just for the extra survivability. She's just proven she's doing enough damage.
Just wants to even further shred then.
I guess, but I mean, you've got Executioner as well as Atalanta. Is he doing enough damage? Do you really need that? I mean, that was huge. Like, that has swung so much in favor now. I mean, we're still waiting on a couple of respawns. If they're quick here, they can take this Phoenix. Protect Yggdrasil, and they should be looking to do so. Carly can stun out the Kepri, but needs to be hitting the Phoenix. Going in and actually forcing out, getting picked up into the air. Primal Fury kills Alyssa. Now I did that in scrims the other day to take the hit, but that's shameful. You can't solo with it without crit. It doesn't happen, even if you have got triple lifesteal.
It's not ideal when your other 4 members are trying to push down a mid Phoenix. You need your ADC there.
Yeah.
Push everything else right.
But Morton's dashed in. Capriol is down. Blanks Guillermo doing some really big damage to the Naja on the backline. Some big damage to Blush Rush as well, who walks forwards. Manages to get in position to hit Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga 3 doesn't connect, and the Blush Rush is able to heal up. How different would this be if there was a hunter there for Protectors of Yggdrasil?
Exactly that. Just having that damage on the tanks and just dissuading the push forward. We are lucky that it was only really... Well, they didn't really lose anyone. They managed to back out there just about. But now the boots on the other foot here, we've got inside machines with an ADC though.
Yeah, well, the Kepri not having heal. There is a bit of susceptibility. One new hunter getting picked up by the Poseidon. Blank Tsukiyomi takes out red, purple, blue. Their tank is gone. Flush Rush. A little bit out of position. If they can isolate him, he manages to teleport through well-placed portals there for the Heimdallr, but red, purple, blue is really getting picked up this game. This is not what I'd expect to see from him. Normally a very solid player, but falling susceptible to the plays of Protectors of Yggdrasil.
This Baba Yaga's picked up double stacking with the help of a passive, able to finish them off quickly. You've got 2 types of penetration, plus the Soul Reaver for health damage, and you've got on the other side this Kepri, who's only really got tested main items. He's got Gauntlet of Thieves to try and give him a little bit, but it's compared to the 4 stacks of physical defense, he's just getting absolutely blown up by this Baba Yaga.
I mean, the Baba Yaga here is having so much more impact than the Poseidon. Double the damage, almost twice the kills, a quarter of the deaths. I mean, surely they have... I mean, actually, there's a lot that they could honestly ban out next game. I've not seen Ket Monster play Nemesis, so I think we forego the Nemesis ban. You have to ban the Kali, but then the Baba Yaga has to come in there somewhere. Kinkai's had first pick this game. They had the priorities. And yet they've let it get to late game and let the late game team just absolutely shred.
Exactly that, and it will be interesting. I like the King Arthur pickup, but I feel if you're going into something like this Achilles, you need something with a little bit more sustained to try and not lose that early game lane. So we will see Protectors of Israel trying to do this sort of aggressive formation around Fire Giant, trying to push them off it, maybe waiting until the next Fire Giant fight before they go for another Phoenix push.
Yeah. Safe too. The Phoenix has got time before it respawns. All this allows them to do is just pick up camps that they want to before the next fight. Alyssa there on the purple buff, Blank Tsukiyomi's back, should be picking up red buff before the next fight as well, really. They've got time before Fire Giant spawns, and they want to be almost taking this fight before it does, so they can get this engaged, get them killed, and then just take Fire Giant, rather than trying to bait around it, take damage from FG, and then suddenly Kinkais are appearing and you're having to fight with your tank, with one of your tanks at half health. I think they need to be proactive. They need to fight before this spawns. They need to be fighting now.
I think the important thing here is we now have seen the Kepri pick up this contagion. Compassion, not contagion. Being able to give that little bit extra magical protection that you probably needed and a lot more health. Just trying to help out where they can and use that magic protection to keep him alive a little bit more, but with how he's being burst at the moment, it'd be interesting to see if it works.
Yeah, I think it's almost better for him to be sitting a little bit further back now, stay near the backline so that they can just take less damage. This Baba Yaga is shredding right now. Ket Monster jumping in onto red, purple, blue and actually looking to isolate the Kepri. I'm a fan of this. You're either going to force his ult to come out or just kill him, and then he doesn't get to use the ult anyway. Really forward playing, smart play from Ket Monster here in the jungle. And Protectors of Yggdrasil starting to enhance Fire Giant, and they've got this solo. There's no no defense from King Kai's. Morton's in the back line with Alfie's own, but those two are alone. Ket Monster gets ulted, but he's safe inside his ult. He gets out. The Achilles ult executes the Poseidon under the Khepri ult. Looks there, stuns, ults the Khepri. Khepri goes down. The 1-2 Hunter running riot in the backline here. Flush rush, getting the healing from Arcee. Achilles ulting just for the damage, gets him low. And now we see Alyssa come around the side. Alyssa shreds Flush rush with that big auto. Only Alfie's own alive. Surely that's game. Geb's on full health.
They've got the enhanced fire giant buff. They don't really need the minions there. The Geb can tank it. Minions are sort of there anywhere. Alfie Rowe going for that mid game sort of mid Phoenix defense, but the rest of the team can just shove in. Ellipsis is going to do so much damage on this Ashiba Lanke late game. It's not really much that they can do. He's going to dive on though and try and stop it.
Yeah, but Alfie's own just falls here. There's way too much shred. Down he goes. Kemon's picking up the kill. Game 1's Protectors of Yggdrasil. Well,
a good sort of late game fighting there from Protectors of Yggdrasil. A bit back and forth around the Fire Giants, but King Kai's just not really pushing that early game advantage they had, and the Khepri just getting absolutely blown up. Went towards the end, towards the side of the Nemean line as well, to try and stop some of those block stacks, but with how fast they're swinging, I don't think it really mattered.
no, not at all. Game 1 going to Protectors of Yggdrasil, and honestly deservedly so. They played a really, really solid game there. King Kai's just not using the early pressure that they had with their picks.
Exactly that, and you had the Achilles there that worked phenomenally in that sort of solo sort of farming towards those sort of team fights as well. Waiting to use the ult, that whole team fight around Fire Giant there at the end, very well done. Having that Kali go in, try and get the actives, try and get the ults, get them low, and then getting out when they needed to, and allowing the Achilles just to go in and absolutely just destroy the rest, using that ult to maximum efficiency, killing the Khepri, killing the Poseidon, getting the Heimdall low to allow the rest of the team to come in and just clean it up.
Yeah, I mean, there was just so many things that went well there for Protectors of Yggdrasil. The 1-2 Hunter picking up a really timely first blood just before the Nejar got the kill, I think actually made a huge difference just to sort of nullify that gold lead in the jungle, allowing the Kali to stay relevant. The Brawler's beat stick on the King Arthur, I get it, but just go a defensive item. It's so much more impactful. If you want the Brawlers, get your Nejar to pick it up. It fits so much better into their build. On the whole, yeah, Protectors of Yggdrasil, they just deserved it.
100%. Those sort of, although King Kai's had that map awareness and that play, that early play, sort of cool on the Fire Giant, very good to sort of try and level the playing field and push that lead that they have. But the draft was just better, I think. And if you don't play your early to mid game the way you want it, and it drags out into that area, it's only a matter of time before those sort of hyper carries in the late game come alive and start tearing through. That Kali with the triple kill around fire, just absolutely destroying people. The Achilles with that sort of execute, really able to limit what the Khepri can do, and just push the aggression as much as possible.
Yeah, I think towards the end there, I mean, King Kai's just started. That you could see it in how they played. They were very split in that last fight at the enhanced Fire Giant. You had Alfie and Morton in the back line alone. Red, purple, blue. The support is off on the side lanes, and meanwhile the mid and the ADC are trying to do their damage and peel for one another. But they've got 3 people running at them. Like, there's not much that can be done. I mean, shout out to Plush Rush. He did an insane amount of damage that game for a losing team. But just none of it was able to be impactful enough when he's not getting the protection. I think a lot of did a single Keprio actually get used on the ADC in that game?
I think maybe a few in the early sort of early games, but I think a lot of the time he was just getting picked off very early on in the team fights. Obviously recognizing that Red Purple Blue usually plays this very aggressive sort of, as you said, solo carry support, and is a very good support at that. So just picking him off early and allowing the peel not really to be there for the team, and then very quickly just running through the rest.
Yeah, and it was a case of the late game. You had your Nejar and your King Arthur diving in, and a lot of the time we did see the late game ults go towards them, but They've dove in, they've done the damage, they've got a kill, they've got the relics. Do you need them to stay alive? Not really. I think you need your support alive and you need your ADC alive. They're sort of the key at the moment there, your ability to push after these fights. Um, and I just think there was too much value on keeping those two alive and not enough on keeping Plush Rush in there.
Exactly that, and it will be interesting to see what sort of changes they make in the next round. Perhaps looking towards maybe a support difference, maybe going towards something a little bit more aggressive. Maybe the Fafnir to try and help out with the ADCs and a bit more uh, peel and damage, especially with the Kali with that disarm coming in and using the coerce as well, just to increase that damage. There's I think a fair few changes they could make. Maybe trying to get the mid lane on maybe a bit more mobile pick to allow him to not be dived quite heavily, but also limiting that sort of jungle pressure from the Kali and maybe even opting to go into more of a late game build themselves.
Yeah, I mean, another couple of options. One thing they're doing that I've just seen is that they are going to be swapping their mid laner out back to the regular mid laner of Luxior. So he will be coming back in, someone who's a bit more comfortable on the role. Um, but otherwise, lots of changes I think need to be made on the side of King Kai's. Um,
Exactly that.
so
And
with that, I think we will take a short intermission while we let the team sort out and get themselves ready for the next game. Um, we'll be back in a few minutes, but thank you very much for joining us for game one, and stick around for what is sure to be a very exciting game two, maybe even game three. Welcome back. We are here for game 2 of this semi-final match. Team Protectors of Yggdrasil and King Kai's in the lower division semi-finals here in the Glorious Smite League. Protectors of Yggdrasil picked up game 1 in a very, very solid performance in what was quite a slow game, and we are now getting into game 2. Myself, Ginger Archer, here alongside Snakebite Sam as my co-caster, and Rosie doing a fantastic job as the spectator for this evening's match.
How are we all doing, guys? And what would be quite a big upset, I would say, with sort of Protectors of Yggdrasil, just sort of showing off how close this sort of tournament really can be. Although we have now got the original mid lane back into Kinsai's sort of lineup, so it'll be interesting to see if that changes up anything. Maybe a different style of mid pickup, or just a different sort of play style as they played with their team probably a bit more than a sub.
Yeah, Luxio a very solid player, a very good timeout player at the moment as well. Really excels on that. Got to been on the other side of it, and that was a pain to go against. Now that was also a stage where warrior jungles dominated the meta. As an ADC main, I wasn't a fan of that. But he is a very, very solid player. So to have him in will be a big almost boost for King Kai's, and they also have a reputation, as I said, in game 1 for starting sets slowly. So seeing how they come out into game 2 here is going to be interesting. And speaking of interesting, the bans coming through. The respect ban on the Naja coming in from Protectors of Yggdrasil now. I didn't think it was that big of an impact myself, and I think that's very interesting that they've actually sort of banned that in favor of something like, I don't know, a Nemesis here, who does quite nicely against the Mercury, and I would be surprised if they didn't pick it up. And the Bologna coming through as well. I think some of these bans, I get the Shiva ban. I said Alfie's own can be a monster on it, in the Jingwei as well, but I don't see that the Naja had a huge amount of impact, and I don't think that banning it was the right call here.
I think both pickups. I mean, they obviously didn't like the Naja from the previous game. Just having that early game pressure into the Kali, limiting what she could do until that later stage sort of fight area, just getting rid of that. So I don't mind the Naja ban, but I do agree with you. I think it could have been better used elsewhere. And on the other side, the Kali just absolutely ripping through the team towards that sort of later stages. Kinsai's just really not wanting to play against that and opt to just get rid of that completely.
I'll be honest, I was somewhat surprised they didn't ban that game 1, potentially not expecting Ket Monster to be in the jungle, maybe thinking it was Alyssa and Ket Monster subbing at ADC, because Ket Monster does have a very good Kali, as he showed in the last game. The Baba Yaga coming out though, on the side of Protectors of Yggdrasil, so once again, picking that up early, and I mean, the damage that pick rocked out with last game was huge. There was a massive difference in the mid laners last game. Like, the Baba Yaga was massive in those team fights. The house damage late game from the ultimate alone, I mean, was enough to almost one-shot someone, or one-burst someone down. Letting that go through over instead of the Baron, I almost would have just allowed the Baron through. Maybe the Achilles comes out again, which performed, yeah, really, really, really solidly. And I think Protectors of Yggdrasil drafting quite well here.
Exactly that. I mean, the Kali ban coming through has allowed this Mercury to get through as well, which similar sort of playstyle to an extent, but you've got a bit more movability and sort of those very heavy hits coming through as well, being very quick. And I like they picked up the Baba Yaga and the Achilles, both being very solid pickups into this. But on the other side, you've got this Ho Yi, Bologna and Yemoja coming through. Yemoja notoriously being one of the top end of the supports, being very good in disruption and using that ult to really limit team fights and just try and steal objectives, and using everything else, sort of the bubble to the stun and the movement ability from the Unruly Tides, just allowing the movement of the team around the map a lot quicker.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what this draft does at the moment from King Kai's does is just counter the Mercury. I'm almost surprised they didn't just pick up the Geb in response. The emoji I like that blocks off the Mercury's ult with those walls massively. That's going to be really nice for team fighting, as well as you say, that ability to just reposition and disrupt fights quite a lot. But Protectors of Yggdrasil sort of spreading their damage around here in terms of the styles of how it's going to come out. I think if they pay too much attention to the Mercury, which I think this game is going to be Alyssa, we see actually a roster change on the side of Protectors of Yggdrasil as well. So Alyssa back into the jungle and Threadus on ADC this time, I imagine. But a lot of attention being applied to that in the ARP. No. Have we really just seen this get locked in?
All is on the line in your semi-finals. You need to pick your one mid laner, and they've gone for an outplash, trying to limit healing, I guess, and just trying to zone control with the ult.
Yeah, but I think it is just the zone control. I mean, that mixed with the emoji ult, that's all I can assume that they're going for here. Because I mean, what healing does this negate other than the Achilles?
Almost, I would have Jing Chan, but not a lot, and they locked that in before the Jing Chan. So
yeah,
Will is an interesting pick, but if they locked it in straight away, they obviously trust it and want to try and push it through. The Jing Chan being picked up along with the Eula, just sort of giving you a little bit of extra CC and peel, as well as setup for the team. So the Eula just generally being very good in the meta right now. Lots of damage from his autos, lots of damage from his abilities, and his own peel and setup. He's quite happy to be left on his own in that sort of left-hand side.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm still trying to get my head around this outpush. I could have understood it more on the side, honestly, of Protectors of Yggdrasil here. That Umoja spread healing is going to be, wild, but I don't think this was the right call. I'm wondering if they've even maybe misclicked. I mean, I'm happy for them to prove me wrong, but to me, this just isn't the right pick, and I think we're seeing that sort of deliberation now of what they're going to go for in the jungle.
Exactly that. Obviously, the jungle's been heavily banned out in that second banning phase, both the Nemesis and the Arachne coming through, not wanting to deal with either one of those. Or the supports we're looking at on the other side. Hunbat, I think, is a solid pickup in this team. I think they've got a lot of CC already, but that Fear No Evil ultimate just going to be absolutely be a nuisance, especially if you lock them into the Umoja. They're just going to be pushed into those walls, not really able to escape. They've got quite a nasty combo here. They get all their ults off, but it's getting all your ults off, and then it's catching everyone in that ult. And even after that, you then used quite a few of them, so it's going to be quite an interesting time and quite a high risk, high reward, I think.
Yeah, I think this can be played well. I'd like to see the Jing Chen here pick up a beads as a second relic. Not first, I don't think it's going to come into play enough early game, but I think in those team fights, having that as well as the shell, they're going to be playing to lock everybody within those Umoja walls, right? And, suddenly drop in Arpwash ult, Ho Yi ult, Hombat's ult. They're just looking for this massive CC of circles that just blow people up collectively, right? The Jing Chen, if he gets his beads, pops this shell, anyone else who uses beads is going to be able to walk out even if they can't dash over it. And then suddenly the fight can turn because all the impactful abilities and all the cooldowns have come out from the side of King Kai's, and there's not going to be as much response. Beyond that, they just need to look for picks. I mean, this is a very pick-aggressive composition. You're looking at the Mercury and the Eula, who've got that ability to just CC. They are going to be just looking to find those individual targets, whether that's a support or a squishy. Ideally for them, the Upwash should be an easy pickup if red, purple, blue isn't sat on it. If they can get these picks, I favour Protectors of Yggdrasil. And honestly, I think overall I favour Protectors of Yggdrasil here. Like, there's just too much relying on this massive combo from King Kai's, and I think if that doesn't come out, Protectors of Yggdrasil are just going to be able to take the extended fights a bit better here. I know there's the healing from the Umoja, but it's not exactly a high amount. That's a very long-term amount of healing. If the fight goes on for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, suddenly we see that this is going to go in favour of Protectors of Yggdrasil, I think.
Exactly that, and I mean, I'm probably going to agree with you here. Just looking at the sort of style of drafts and how King Kai sort of played the last game, they started off very slow. They tried to push things, but Protectors of Yggdrasil just recognize that they play that early game slow, so they know what they can and can't get away with. And even in the mid game, they sort of backed off, went, all right, we've got a late game draft. And that's very similar to what they've done here. You know, you got Mercury, you got Ulla, you got Baba Yaga, and the Achilles, all decently late game. I mean, the Mercury especially, just getting that damage off, using that ult to really disrupt the team. The Baba Yaga we just saw mid to late game was an absolute powerhouse, and you've got this Xingqian sort of thrown in to give that peel, give the setup required. Very similar to almost the Geb to an extent, minus the shield, just having that big ult to try and help his team get picks or get them out, just throwing the enemies away, and then using that knock up as well, the knock up into a sort of route, helping out as much as you can. Whereas on the other side, King Kai's, they've got the Hun Bats, which, as you say, it's a very high risk, high reward. They've got the ults, they've got zone control. It's just how they tie it all together to do as much damage as possible.
Indeed. I mean, between the Jingqian and the Mercury, this Opwa should almost never have beads available in fights. That just shouldn't be a thing. What I'd almost like to see is this Mercury lane ganking duo. Let the Sula get ahead, let him just bully the Hu Yi out of the game, which is easily doable. If he gets a couple of items online, gets that cooldown from the Transcendence and a Jotun's Wrath, I mean, you can just dash in onto the Hu Yi, take away all his health on cooldown, providing he's hitting abilities. Like, the Mercury focuses there, provided the other lanes don't get behind, they're going to be able to start to bully, and then all you need Jingqian to do is stop Bellona going on your backline. You throw that one out, and then she's barely doing any damage, you blow her up.
Exactly that. Using the knock up as well, just sort of limiting her aggressive playstyle, how she wants to stick to people, just plonk her right in one spot, you stay in here, rest of the team come in and finish them off. And I mean, it's going to be interesting, because that Bellona will have a lot of sort of pressure in the early game, and maybe that's what they're looking for out of the Bellona, just not really having the time they wanted with the King Arthur, the Achilles just being a little bit too powerful. So they got the Bellona to try and shut down the Achilles a little bit in this early game and try and keep ahead on this sort of solo side.
Yeah, and I think as well as that, I mean, the Bellona just matches the sustain of the Achilles. The Achilles has the two, right? The Bellona here just gets Death's Toll, she uses her chain, and she's healing. It's nice and easy for her. Now, King Kai's here just respecting the little bit of lack of clear, and going to favouring this sort of speed to red buff. But on the Protectors of Yggdrasil, they're going the full clear of the red buff speed and the back camps, but they don't have the Hand of the Gods to boost the clear on the back camp. I think that they might lose half a wave here, potentially to King Kai's, if they're able to push this in early enough on the first wave. Our Posh and Bat's not great for doing that, but the time taken to do the back camp here is going to be quite high. In relation, that thing has 600 health in comparison to buff, so a lot tankier. And we'll just see how this gets pushed in. We see that little bit of extra clear coming in. No abilities there. They're going to lose a fair bit of gold here to the tower.
Get here and they will have to back out, so those minions will hurt. We see health bar of Mercury just down very quickly. But will manage to save it to power though, so...
Yeah, don't lose any XP or gold there actually, which just goes to show how little clear the Arpwash has. Also already having to pop a mana potion. So that little bit of sustain got a good poke here from Don's Gaming on the duo side. And yeah, Mercury and Baba Yaga out clearing, not a sentence you get to say very often. Ularak's coming out and missing the first axe, that's never a good sign for your duo lane.
And I think that's one of the issues with this sort of outflash is a lot of the time you will have to use a fair few of his abilities to try and kill the wave, as the Hunter does get a little bit of
Yeah, this is having to dash out here, losing a lot of health, and actually some good poke coming out from Luxior Gaming as well, just to force out that mid-jungle combo from Protectors of Yggdrasil a little bit.
Ultimately, it's even across the board, maybe a bit more health loss in that early game in the mid lane.
Yeah, looking over at solo side here, both warriors are very low health, very few potions left each as well. They've been going at it, it seems, and as a jungler, one of the junglers here, specifically Morton, if we're seeing how high the 1-2 Hunter's pushed up here, surely that's just an easy gank. Even on a Doombat, you have the ability to chase that Achilles down. By now he's healed too much, but maybe a bit earlier. Could have looked over there for an early first blood, get the blown ahead, let her start to bully a bit. Now both of them healthy enough for it to be irrelevant.
And even with this Bologna, the Achilles is still putting on a fair bit of a performance in terms of pressure, just being able to push the Bologna back under the tower, really limit the move, and just try and strip away as much farm as they can. Looking for that totem of coup to help out the team, and just trying to help out. And even though they've sort of almost picked this Bologna to try and counter it, just allow it to keep going.
Indeed. And the Bologna with Blink as well, like an interesting choice. I don't think that's really the play over just getting a sprint and getting this entangling wings. Like having that extra CC to just root an entire team where you've got a relatively mobile mid laner like the Baba Yaga. She has her dash, but obviously there's a big wind up on it. You CC it, gets cancelled. An Ula who can, you know, if he pops his 2 for the speed, you root him, and then he can't actually run anywhere anyway, and suddenly that's half of his escape gone. I would have preferred to have valied that earlier, and I think it just allows that ability to get out and to chase more as well if we're rotating early.
I have a little bit of pressure, but we are now seeing GSL a little bit, allowing that healing. But on the side, you do have this Achilles just using his full combo, just keeping himself topped up, nothing dangerous going to happen.
Yeah, Achilles getting a little bit low, but a good amount of burst coming out to the Bologna in return, and actually looking aggressive here, forcing out the Bologna, getting the solo kill. Bologna not ulting away. 1-2 Hunter picking up the first blood. The Moonbat's ult comes in. The 1-2 Hunter has beads. Morton teleports to a minion, and that's a free first blood. The Bologna just not respecting the damage. On the other side here, ult coming in from Don's Gaming onto red, purple, blue. Good use of the emoji abilities to get himself clear there. Opting not to go for leads, but go for the shell instead. But doing good aggression here from Protectors of Yggdrasil to let themselves get ahead, and Alfie's own is getting quite bullied in the solo lane here. 2 games in a row. The 1-2 Hunter, brilliant on this Achilles.
I would say both times first blood, putting pressure in.
Yeah, now Baba Yaga looking for the ult, and Luxior Gaming who's out of position here on the other side using the corpses to heal, but the Baba Yaga ult still chasing. Maybe going to get out, but we can see the Mercury here. Looking for the ult across and looking to chase. Goes in, gets the dash, gets the beads out. It's going to go down. Alyssa picks up Luxior Gaming, and it's 2-0 to Protectors of Yggdrasil.
Good heads up play there from Merc, recognizing where the outpush is going, being able to cut off the escape route, realizing that the Baba Yaga can't do it, can't keep the chase going, cuts off the option, the dash, just cleans it up, and then steals the red buff as well, just further limiting the farm from that outpush.
Yeah, and we're seeing a small 300 gold lead just start to press a little bit here. Not overly impactful, but it's going to be enough where we can start seeing the Mercury looking to get ahead and the solo lane start to get ahead. Now, the main thing they've got to do is keep this in check. Make sure they don't suddenly think we've got a lead, we're going to be hyper aggro, get ulted by Hoombats under tower and lose it all. They need to just make sure they're sensible with it. But good aggressive play coming out from Protectors of Yggdrasil so far, and it's paying off for them hugely.
Exactly that, and I mean, the joy of it is they've got the, as you say, they've now got this sort of pressure in the lead, and it's really up to them to see how they want to control the game. They've got this late game draft, they can drag this out as late as they want it, or they can try and do a little bit more sort of hyper farming, push it fast, and try and run it down a little bit, try and reach those power spikes sort of before they can, and it is doing phenomenally well in this solo lane as well. The Achilles just absolutely putting on a show, not really showing the presence, not really presence, but the respect, I would say, towards this Achilles ult at all. Similar sort of thing happened in game 1, and 2-1 Hunters just sort of running it down.
Yeah, and being allowed to do so. Going off what you were saying, I almost want Protectors of Yggdrasil to take this game mid-game. The Mercury's going to start having crit online, the Eula is going to be a nice power spike over the Hou-Yi, Achilles is at a big power spike. Get into there before the Hoombats has that maximum amount of cooldown available. Get into that before the Arpwash is able to just one-shot people with his abilities. get into there where you can still sort of blow up the Bologna when she's not tanky enough yet. I'd really like them to be more proactive with the big hit. Good ult here coming out from Morton to displace Don's Gaming, but he in return gets the ult in. Two of them pushed on the tower. Bobby Agol coming in return, and that's only moment 2 ults for 2. Doesn't look like anyone's going to go down. Don's Gaming using the shell, which I don't necessarily think is necessary. Listen, huge ult coming across, getting 3 of them. They pick up Luxior Gaming in the mid laner. Good stun by red, purple, blue, but Protectors of Yggdrasil getting out, and they are just dominating King Kai's right now. 1,000 gold lead, 7 minutes in.
I was going to say, what was quite a very slow early game. You see Alicia coming in.
Yeah, the Huba speed's being forced out now as well. Good engage. Good bit of poke onto Morton.
And as I was saying, what I thought was going to be a fight where not a lot was happening as they are getting the red buff. There is no presence.
Hoyi rotating Plush Rush, getting a kill onto Alyssa, and actually they can swing this now. Can they pick up Don's Gaming? Alfie's Zerone making the rotation, getting the kill onto Baba Yaga. Blank Tsukiyomi falling. Is Don's Gaming going to fall as well? Not quite, but you wonder if he'd saved his shell before, whether some of that would have happened, and just a bit too much aggression from Protectors of Yggdrasil, and now King Kai should get Gold Fury.
Exactly that. What turned out to be a great fight for Yggdrasil, just sort of very quickly skyrocketing downwards, just trying to push their sort of lead as possible, trying to get the farm and get overly aggressive when they really didn't need to with Gold Fury up.
I think they've just not respected what can come out here from all King Kai's just get Gold Fury. But yeah, not respecting the return damage when Alyssa had no mana, Blank Tsukiyomi didn't have the cooldowns, Don's Gaming, no ult, no shell. And just getting a little bit too aggressive there, which has now given Plush Rush a kill and an assist. Lead onto a Hoyi. He's going to be able to farm it up. Threader should be able to be aggressive on him. Not seeing enough coming out from the Eula so far.
Exactly that. What started off as a fight that I thought was just going to be a disengage with the Alphash ult very quickly has turned this game around. And still, even though they got the Gold Fury, the gold's still in favour of Protectors of Yggdrasil. Obviously, pushing that lead, it's only just still looking.
They're going to get the pick onto Red Purple, onto Luxior Gaming again. Arpwash 0-3, only 28 stacks on that Warlock Sash. And the Baba Yaga, only 30 to go. This is what you call bullying.
That's it. Baba Yaga's got that house helping out as well. He's able to use these stacks as much as possible, doing a similar build to the last game, going into that double stacking. Got the Warlock Staff going into the Book of Thoth now as well, just getting a big pool of health, big pool of mana. We're seeing a blue.
Yeah, it does go down. But the tower counter engage, this is 2 people against 4 here. Alfie's Zerone way out of position. They're going to ignore Morton. Alfie's Zerone having to ult out, but not going to be allowed to blink. That constant damage coming up from the Baba Yaga ult. They just need to make sure they hit. Good ult from Red, Purple, Blue to zone, but Alyssa here in the background gets the Mercury message onto Alfie's Zerone to pick him off. Morton now getting quite low. Alyssa low, but the execute comes out. Morton dies to the Umoja due to the back camps. Is Umoja going to go out now? No, just has enough Omi to portal herself out. 2 for 2 and a successful blue buff invade coming out from King Kai's. But Protectors of Yggdrasil now starting up the Pyromancer. This should be quite free.
We are looking for a bit of engage. We do see 1-2 Hunter coming in for a bit of discouragement. They are going to try and get this, but it's not going down quickly. They might back off.
But good poke onto Luxior Gaming on the Arpwash, actually getting quite low himself. And he's only just come back.
I was going to say, what turned out for a blue invade, and a bit of, I would say, a messy start to that fight from Yggdrasil, just sort of not having the target prioritization they want. Half of them going on the Humbats, half of them going on the Bologna, or on the they both managed to run away, but a very quick sort of turnaround to be able to get 2 of those picks, and at least get something out of it for that blue invade.
The 1-2 Hunter here looking really strong. Like his itemization here is really smart. Just picking up that Witchblade to counter both the Bologna now, but also that and the Hoyi later. Allow him to run into the back line and just be an absolute menace this entire game. Doing so really smartly. Good poke out here from Fred. So he should be diving in for the kill here. The Hoyi is good stuff, but now he's used everything. The dash is down. Is the axe going to hit? It's out of range right now. Just was on target otherwise, but Alyssa's coming around with the Mercury ult. This is going to be overcharged. If if this doesn't kill, it does kill. Alyssa picks up Plush Rush. Very luckily, Morton misses the monkey, and now has to use the bees defensively. He's going to drop the ult. Red, purple, blue in response. Fredus picks up the kill onto Morton. Red, purple, blue's alone. Fredus probably a bit low to chase this up, as is Alyssa. Can't dive the tower, but 2 kills more for Protectors of Yggdrasil. They've got a 2,000 gold lead.
This
And
Mercury is just everything you want in this game at the moment. He's everywhere and doing as much as he can, getting the kills, getting the pressure, always there when kills just out of reach, using that ult really effectively as well to avoid the tower shot. Just a really heads-up play from the Mercury player, being able to control pretty much most of the lanes here.
Absolutely. I really think King Kai should have drafted an earlier Nemesis here before they let it get banned out. Morton here on the Hubat so far, just not having an impact. 3 levels down to the Mercury, which they've let through, knowing how strong it is. And it's just being allowed to do what it wants right now. Like, it's got in fact, it has got every lane ahead. There is just a complete lead on the side of Protectors of Yggdrasil now. Now, Old Fury's coming up. They group and fight here. They should win the fight. They've got gold, they've got experience, they are just ahead heavily. They need to push it as a team while they can.
Exactly that.
And Fred is getting a big stun on the Blush Rush. There go the beads from both of them.
Fred is obviously worrying about the knock-up there from the knock-up stun from the Ho Yi, trying to pre-beads it.
Worried, but he didn't even have the mark of the crow on him. He was never gonna get stunned there. As Alyssa stepping forward, just threatening red, purple, blue into backing up. Fredus now knowing that Flush Rush doesn't have the bees, looking aggressive, but actually Flush Rush hits the stun. Fredus takes one basic attack and decides, nope, that's enough. On the other side, Protectors of Yggdrasil looking aggressive on this Pyromancer, and it's gonna fall. King Kai's doing the exact same thing, off to the opposite objective.
Exact same space from last game, recognising their heavy push. I'll be interested to see if they try and turn around. Going on to Pleasure, going back to lane, not recognising what's going on.
And no awareness. I mean, that's 2 games in a row now. You'd think by now Protectors of Yggdrasil should really have considered that this was going to happen. Gold Fury's worth more than a Pyromancer, so this is just honestly a better swing for King Kai's when there's no kills going down, no towers going down either. It's kind of just a poor push there. Pyromancer's fine, but someone needed to just keep an eye on gold.
And it's things like that that help you get back into this game that you're behind on. You know, these small picks, small farms.
Absolutely, well, Yggdrasil Gaming getting aggressive on here, taking a huge amount of damage, going to fall down to blank Tsukiyomi. Moonbat's ult coming out and jumping over the Mercury ult. That's going to be the end of that engagement. Could have picked up another pick otherwise. Alfie's Own has rotated here. Alfie's Own has the ultimate ready, as does Red Purple Blue on promotion. Don's Gaming coming in behind and actually blank Tsukiyomi turning around here with the ult, looking at Red Purple Blue, who doesn't have beads, doesn't have the Omi to portal herself out, and is going to fall down to Don's Gaming. The tick on that Xing Chen 1 just about being enough. Now the 1-2 Hunter is here to force out Bellona. And that's a tower going down in favour of Protectors of Yggdrasil. Their cohesion is incredible.
Really changed from what I played last game. It's a little bit messy. They've now sort of got that 1 game lead. Went, okay, we can do this. We've got the push. We've got the feel for it. They're just completely running it down at this point.
Yeah.
You doing exactly what you want it to do. Limits that Humbat's abilities. Humbats throws the ult down instantly. Blank Tsukiyomi's there. Throws the 2, throws the 1, cleans it up. On to the next one.
Yeah, and there's just so much confidence oozing from this squad right now. Fred is looking at the poke, hitting both bits of the poke. I mean, the engage is coming through. They are not fearing this #1 seed. They are taking the game to them, and they are making it their game. They are proving that they should be here competing in this semi-final, and my days do they deserve to be. They are absolutely wiping the floor with King Kai's at the moment. Now, that isn't to say that King Kai's aren't going to be that small amount of bacteria that can dirty it up again and become resistant, but right now, this is all Protectors.
I mean, although we're talking about XP differences and stuff like this, just look at the item differences between the junglers as well. You've got the Humbats, obviously going for this Transcendence and Hydra's, obviously a little bit more expensive, but on the other side, you're looking at the Mercury's use 3 items and a tier 1 ahead. He's almost got that crit finish with the Rage and probably going into the death. He's so much more impactful and so much more damage coming through on the side of the Mercury to this Hunbats, despite only being a 1 level down on the Hunbats.
Indeed, and no sighters as to anyone going for a spectral armor yet. Alyssa getting picked up out of position here, uses the beads. I don't know if it's going to be enough. The ult coming through. No, it is not. Alyssa goes down. The ult cooldown being taken as well. Morton getting that kill. And just a little bit of what we saw earlier, a little bit of over-aggression onto camps that don't necessarily need to be contested alone. I like the idea, but done no favours. Good stun here by Fredas to keep himself safe. Flush Rush missing the ricochet from the Hou-Yi. Head Fredas can just back out now.
I think that's a big pickup there onto Alicia though. Recognising that they have been controlling the game, let's try and slow that pace down, limit the farm you're going to get, and also just try and get a bit of that shutdown gold as well that would be around. Just really trying to focus on the key parts that are tearing that draft apart.
Yeah, they're just taking, at the moment, Protectors are getting these small wins across the map. I mean, there's not really, I mean, they've taken, what, a Pyromancer this game? King Kais have had more of the sort of bigger objectives. Protectors of Yggdrasil have taken more towers, they're looking at more territory right now. But they're just conceding these few small things in response that are stopping this lead that they do have from being that little bit bigger. I mean, if they're on top of objectives fully right now, this lead is 5,000 to 6,000 gold, and then suddenly we're seeing a very, very different game.
I mean, I can't help but feeling, even though they are slowly losing that sort of the farm, and it is, although it is in their favour, you do see that spike down around that sort of 18-minute mark. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing, because at the end of the day, they are going to hit that late game, and that is what they want to hit. They want to get to level 20. They want to get these builds online. They just have a better draft at that level.
Absolutely. And 1-2 Hunter getting a little bit of aggression onto him right now. I don't think he's too bothered. Interesting here, the Bologna gone into the kin size. Really right now, not that tanky. I mean, 50 to 60 protections on each side. No massive health bonus. She gets shredded. Don's Gaming going into the back line here just to sort of keep them away. Bologna using the beads, getting out of it. But that's just now a free tower for Protectors of Yggdrasil. And now they need to leave. If they over-engage here, they're going to be throwing a fight. They get out, they take the win that they've got, and they're fine. You can see that Alyssa being pinged back. Make sure that they're not taking what they don't need to, going for the Pyromancer. Flush Rush going for the solo kill onto Fredas here, not respecting the fact that he's got the dash available. Fredas just getting back to lane, pushing in, and now he really could have pressured Flush Rush there. Morton picking up the 1-2 Hunter. As a counter engagement through. Alyssa picks up Morton herself. The ult coming through from Luxior Gaming. Is Dom's Gaming going to go down? Yes, he is. Luxior Gaming gets the kill. In the backline, Alyssa's trying to fight Alpha's own. I don't think that ends well for you right now, Alyssa. That crit is not enough. Alpha's own with the ult, and that's a 3-kill swing for a Pyromancer.
Exactly what you were saying in the previous engagement. They got the power, they got the pressure, they got the beads off the blown up. Happy days. Retreat out, regroup, get ready. Rather than picking up, they obviously tried to go for that Pyromancer, and it just didn't really work in their favour.
Yeah, and Fredas trying to dash into a wall there, letting himself take an extra 2 basic attacks he didn't need to take. Almost could have gone up and down there, and I think he may have been able to turn it on the Hou-Yi with his burst damage potentially. But respecting that the damage could come out, and now King Kai's running back here to get yet another Gold Fury. And the gold lead is just getting smaller and smaller.
Like that grouping up, recognising what they need to do to improve on, and how they can get back into this game. And this is exactly it. Look for picks, look for these objectives, and just try and take them without really doing too much of a fight. Alfie respecting the ult this time, managing to back out.
The Protector's doing the right thing, getting aggressive and actually stealing away the camps just to make sure that this isn't a completely free engagement from King Kai's, getting these little bits in return for the Gold Fury going down. Fredas now level 20. We'll be looking to get that blue stone upgraded soon, and which will be a nice bit of percentage health shred. Should he go for it, or even the anti-attack speed if he respects the Bologna, who now has that spectral armor, and that is a big pickup.
Exactly that, limiting the damage from this Mercury just a little bit, trying to give a bit more survivability. We do see the Ulla opting away for crit, which 100% is the right thing to do with the kit he has, opting for more ability damage, and it's a similar sort of style from last game, having that spectral armor into into just one person who's crit, but with the Mercury and how powerful it is, I 100% agree with that.
I mean, the Eula can go crit right there, the Titan's Bane and what I'm assuming is the Heartseeker. Just drop in a fail not on the Deathbringer. And you are doing a nice cheeky amount of damage. Red, purple, blue, and there's some big poke coming out onto 1-2 Hunter here. Has he just used his heal? Because if so, he's going to get stunned. Doesn't look like it. And actually, the return engage coming out onto Luxior Gaming has to use the beats, Morton ulting as the Humas. Alyssa dashing into the backline. Luxior goes down, but that's 3 ults expended. Is that worth? Are they going to get out? I don't know, the blown ult as well as the Yemoja walls coming in. Alyssa goes down in return. Red, purple, blue getting low from Blank Tsukiyomi, who's just flanked in on the Baba Yaga with a huge ultimate. The amount of damage coming through. Morton now low. Fredus looking to be aggressive. Got to respect the Bologna still. Gets a good stun and some really good poke damage onto the Bologna. Does not have a health wall. Bronze game of Fredus chasing in Blank Tsukiyomi as well, dashing aggressively. That's the pickup onto Alfie's own. Blank Tsukiyomi with the Baba Yaga one, and now they look to Fire Giant surely. They've got enough health here.
100%. I mean, you've got both your tanks there. You've got your shred. You've got your burst. They're gonna go straight for it. There's not really a huge amount that Humbats can do without that ultimate on these objectives. The Hoyi's missing his ult as well, so he's going to be looking at what a ricochet to try and steal, which he might try and do if he comes in.
1-1 with a good level of zone here. Just making sure Flush Rush can't contest. Now, quick credit to Morton here, who has got himself ahead of Alyssa. Really top-notch farming to get himself to level 20 ahead of this Mercury, who was really running away with the game at one point.
Allowed him also to get that Thumbless Hammer as well, just trying to get a bit more power and damage over another item, just a bit more health as well, and being able to try and do a lot of damage with this next basic attack, which works perfectly with Hydra's Lament.
Yeah, as well as the Humbat's passive, but not only that, it's the cooldown it gives. It just means that on that 20% you're getting your ult more often as Humbats, and it also means you're getting that slow up with the jump. You're getting that ability to chase more. The 2 at this stage is kind of irrelevant. You're only really using that with your ult or to confirm it on a running enemy. You don't really use it for the damage. The wind up is just that little bit too long, but having those extra cooldowns is really, really impactful. And that's going to mean this Humbats is suddenly much more an impact in these fights when he's going to be able to ult every 60 or so seconds.
Exactly that, and I've yet to see the sort of impact that this Outplash could have brought to the game. It's a lot of pressure, but the Baba Yaga's just doing too much into it, and as we see now, he is trapped. Just try and use that.
Yeah, and actually 2 ults being expended, but on the other side, goodbye Outwash, and the ult coming through from Baba Yaga, meaning 2 more members of King Kai's get pushed out, and with this Fire Giant on the side, Alyssa dashing in incredibly aggressively. She's dead for this. There's no way she doesn't get punished. She's so far out of position. No Phoenix down. That door takes too long to open. Does use the beads. Eyes beat needlessly. She's gone too aggressive there. That's the sort of play that can throw. They picked up the tier 2. That was unnecessary. Hugely overcharged. So good damage here on the red, purple, blue. Down he goes. Good stun by Fredus. Good ult coming out from the Achilles. Using it again just to sort of reposition. This Phoenix does probably go down here unless they can get Fredus off of it, which they cannot. Goodbye Phoenix. Goodbye Alfie Zerone potentially. A little bit out of position. Don's Gaming following. The Fredus doesn't quite hit the stun. Alfie Zerone expending the blink to get back into base. And Protectors of Yggdrasil walk away with Phoenix.
100% that, and as you said, Alyssa going a little bit too deep there with the ult, potentially not recognising the distance of it, or maybe just trying to hit the Phoenix itself and stop and put themselves. But keep going, and this Emperor's armour is really sort of helping them out here, just allowing them to spread these towers a lot quicker, make sure the damage isn't really there, and just keeping themselves sort of on top, allowing them to get that Phoenix.
Yeah, and honestly, the Jing Chen just in general here, some really, really nice play. Not prioritising the team fighting ults too much, but actually just using it to get pickups when he knows people don't have beads, and I like it. Like, a lot of people hold abilities for this sort of perfect moment. There's no need to. If you can get a pick, which I said at the start, this composition should be looking to do with this Mercury and with this Ula, you're making the plays that you need to because the enemy team fight is better. You take out one member of King Kai's and suddenly Protectors of Yggdrasil win the fight, because the Mercury has got that ability to just run in, even if it is to over-engage. Even in that fight, King Kai sent what, 3-4 members to kill the Mercury? That's just a free tower and a free Phoenix afterwards.
100%, and as you say, this sort of pick-centric comp is working absolutely flawlessly for them here. Just using the each individual parts to get the picks they need, and just to really disrupt the combo that Kinsides are really trying to push. We'll probably now see another sort of Fire Giants dance start beginning, with it coming up shortly.
And so here, almost finishing up that build, got the Protector of the Jungle done, got the almost finishing up what I'm assuming is going to be a Wind Demon. Could go the Shadow Steel. I don't think the Emoji healing's been impactful enough this game. They've just kind of been bursting members down. I almost want them to be getting that more pen from the crits just to be able to deal with the tanks better in these fights. But huge pressure from Protectors of Yggdrasil here. Now, they're looking at this tower. Fire Giant's not up. I get they've got the pressure in the Emperors. Yolk comes out though. I don't think they should be looking for this. Just resetting to the Fire Giant. They're taking poke here. They don't need to.
Alicia looking very aggressive by that speed buff. On their own, doesn't get jumped on though.
Yeah, I mean, she's got the beads available. She can afford to do it right now. She didn't have relics, and I'd say maybe not as much. But recognizing that she's got that little bit of extra safety, can do so. The 1-2 Hunter gets a big poke in here to one red, purple, blue, but he's managed to isolate the Hunter, who is taking a lot of poke from the tower here. So you wouldn't know it looking at his health bar, and that's just a free tier 2 tower for Protectors of Yggdrasil, who are now going to head towards that Fire Giant. Trebuchet pushing in, King Kai's forced back to base. They go straight there, and this should be theirs.
100%. They're getting closer to that sort of enhanced Fire Giant, so what's the option? Not really go for it, just try and burst it before King Kai's can really get there. Using that frenzy as well, just to guarantee the extra damage and attack speed coming through, as they are now going to try and chase down.
Listen, going for it, not hitting either of the big CC abilities, getting disarmed, but Horton big ol' into the backline here. That is a huge engage, but there's very little follow-up. Zampi dash out. Pons Gaming picking up the last of the beads on the side of King Kai's. No more on the Koyi or on the Hoombats. Koyi coming defensively is zoning, but that's not going to make a difference. They just heal here with Fire Giant. And meanwhile in mid lane, Alyssa's there to pick up this Phoenix again potentially, while this right side Phoenix is starting to go down. The 1-2 Hunter putting out a lot of pressure onto that backline. And down goes right Phoenix, goes down, goes to mid Phoenix. Alyssa also getting the kill onto Morton, who goes down, gets the ult out of Alfie's own, but nothing more from there. Alyssa's out safe, Don's Gaming slightly low, but Protectors should just be taking all 3 of these Phoenixes here, and there is nothing to stop them doing so.
Exactly that, they got the minions pushed up. Kinsai's not really recognising how far the minions pushed up.
Yeah,
Pushing
okay.
They
They go for the end. There's no ults up on the side of King Kai's. I think they can. Blank Tsukiyomi goes in with Baba Yaga ult. They've got Threadus there dealing damage off on the side. He's actually hitting. Push a bit, but 2 go down. Protectors of Yggdrasil take the set.
What a surprise coming through the upset, taking down the number 1 seed from the number 4 spot. Just the one thing I would say from that game is Mercury, just putting on an absolute show there, showing why he's such a prevalent jungler and how much pressure he can really put out.
I think credit where it's due. Some huge drafting recently from Protectors of Yggdrasil. They only just picked up Lang Tsukiyomi, who has done a number on King Kai's in both games here in the mid lane. Been an absolute star for them. Really, really shone, and I think that's made a huge difference. Allowed the rest of the team to kind of shine a bit with just having that extra amount of pressure there. And as far as we're concerned, great game, Protectors of Yggdrasil. Commiserations, King Kai's. Let's see what you can do in the 3rd place game.
Exactly that. I mean, King Kai's by no means didn't put on a show themselves. Having the presence and prowess and having that sort of being able to get the 1st seed through the more regular season stages, obviously showing off how powerful they really can be. But Omni just fall a little short, and I can't help but feel that it's not down to individual play or group play. It's mainly, I would say, potentially a drafting issue.
Yeah, I think both games here. the Arposh just threw it away. They just didn't have a mid presence this game, King Kai's. They were playing as four members on their team. Like the Humbats was getting some good ults off, was getting the relics out, but the Bellona didn't really have an impact. Again, just wasn't really tanky enough. Didn't have the health to sustain the fights, and they just didn't have anything to sort of stick to the Baba Yaga, which
Exactly
they
that.
needed. And I think that's the sort of difference that we saw in that game. Maybe the Nejar ban did make the difference with the amount that the Nejar was able to take people into the air. But yeah, Protectors Yggdrasil drafted really well. Don's Gaming, I must credit, doing a brilliant job on the Jing Chen in that second game. Some of the ults, really, really impactful. But yeah,
As you say,
Protectors
I
of
mean,
Yggdrasil into the final, and I'm personally hoping to meet them there very shortly.
I mean, as you say, the mid lane just not really having that pressure that the Baba Yaga did. I'm surprised we did see the Elfwash. I think, as you say, very high risk, high reward, and ultimately it didn't pan out in this game. Maybe in others it would have had that pressure and presence needed. It it is one of those picks that doesn't usually get picked up, and you try and bring it just to kind of surprise the enemy team and pick them into something. But with the amount of chase the Baba Yaga and the Mercury bring, it's not ideal, I would say. And just being able to get picked up and bursted most of the times.
Yeah.
But
With that, I believe we are now going to be taking another short break before we get into the second set of the night, which is going to be Spaced Out facing the Benadryl Babylonians in the other semi-final match. For those of you in chat, stay tuned for what is going to be yet another brilliant set of Smite.